Alright, welcome back to the SuperCoach and Off channel. In this video we'll be doing the round 16 preview for the 2023 NRL SuperCoach season. So as usual, as we go through the round preview, we'll look at the most popular trade options as well as captain options, and then obviously look at the trades for my side. So, excuse me, there. Top of the list this week with the trade-ins. So also the trade-ins, we've got Kalen Ponga. So I think since he's moved to fullback, he's looked really good for Supercoach, and obviously with the dual position that he has available, he's well suited to slotting into the 5'8" spot. Particularly now that Dylan Brown's missing, there's a couple of sort of obvious gun options in Cody Walker and Cam Munster. But if you are looking for a bit of a point of difference, I think Kalen Ponga is a really good shout. Number two on the list is Jake Simpkins, so probably the best cheapie of the week, given his job security coming up. He covers the two big buy rounds. I guess the one issue there, along with any of the Sharks or Bulldogs players or Tigers players as well, is they all miss out in round 17. So as long as you can cover for that, I think that's fine to have Simpkin in. Excuse me. At number three, Nico Hines. That's a no-brainer. Far and away the best scoring halfback for Supercoach. Assuming that he doesn't get a look in for game three as well. Probably fair to say that he is the number one target this week if you haven't already got him. Britton Nikora at 4. Yep, another great pick. There is an argument for maybe going Teague Wilton over him. Again, because they don't play next week, I don't think you can carry both. But depending on the makeup of your team, you might be able to swing it. But I guess Nikora does seem to have a little bit more upside to him in terms of scoring tries and the like. So, yeah, he's been a favourite of mine for a while. And I can't blame any of these 4,000 for getting him in. At number 5 is Ruben Garrick. So obviously he's a gun and worth getting in, but 800 or close to 800k is a lot to pay. You could probably find better value, but I guess there's a bit of money going around Supercoach this year. So um, yeah, if you can afford him, that's fair enough. But yeah, if you're not exactly flush with funds, it's a big investment, and as I said, you could probably look to spend the money elsewhere. Number 6 on the list, Jerome Hughes. So, if you've already got Nico Hines, I don't mind Jerome Hughes as your second halfback. His price should lift a little bit after his big score last week. He's available this week, obviously, and the next coming couple of weeks. And then around 19, you could either flip him to, say, a Sean Johnson, or if you wanted to hold out till after round 19, Nathan Cleary should be back in action, and you could just go back to Nathan Cleary. So, not the worst trade going around. Nick Meaney at number 7. So, we just talked about how expensive Ruben Garrick is. I think, for 100k less and a similar, if not greater, upside playing at fullback, I'd lean towards Nick Meaney myself, but it's easy for me to say when I've already got Ruben Garrick. So, both great trade ins. Ronaldo Mulatalo at number 8. So I did say in the stock market video to potentially fade the Sharks backline. But, in any given week, any of them can go large. So a few thousand people were banking Ronaldo to go big this week. That's fair enough. But again, it's probably not, financially savvy. But if you've got the money, you've got the trades, you can do a lot worse than Ronaldo. Junior Palga at number 9. So one I haven't really looked at. I'm assuming he's playing his third game this week. Yeah. So yeah, I guess if you're looking for a cheapie option in the centre wing, it's probably the way to go. Um, I'm trying to think of whose spot he's got. I think Swali's still got a couple of weeks suspension. The thing might be just whether Joey Manu forces his way back into the centres, or I guess doesn't force his way. He probably wants to force his way into 5'8". But if he gets moved back into the centres, that could affect Paugi's long-term job security. But for a number over the next couple of weeks, I think it's not the worst shout. And Clint Gutherson, so I did have him as the second choice sort of fullback on the bye list this week. Um, yeah, there's a bit of points chasing there after his hat trick last week, I think. And yeah, if you've got the likes of Reece Walsh, Tommy Turbo, and of course Dream Buller, my new favourite player, I'd fade on Gutherson, but again, I did put him as a possible buy option, so I can't begrudge those people bringing him in. In terms of the trade outs, so Dylan Brown, number one, absolutely agree. A few people might have just missed it last week with the stand down policy. So yeah, you can go to Callum Ponga, you can go to Matt Burton, who's a great option this week in that position as well. Um, yeah, and I guess because we don't know when he's coming back as well, it's probably not worth a hold. So I'd get out of that pick. Isaiah Katoa, same sort of thing, I suppose. There's so many great options in the halves this week with the two we just mentioned, but Nico Hines, even a Jerome Hughes. So definitely um, get out of that trade. Jackson Ford at number three, so he's a trade out target for me. Um, yeah, he's done his job for us, I think, and he doesn't really have the upside. He's a good workhorse, but most people are in that position where they can upgrade to someone and score some more points going forward. Nathan Cleary, so yep, again another trade out option of mine this week. And I think if you've got him, you can't afford to get rid of him. Obviously, Nico Hines is the obvious trade. Um, Jerome Hughes we talked about. You could also get Matt Burton in the halfback position with that dual position, perhaps. Um, yeah, there's a few options there. Loffy, Khan Pereira. So, peaked in price probably a couple of weeks ago. That was the time really to get rid of him. I know some people just kept holding him as he was playing, but, uh, you know, like a lot of these wingers, a bit too reliant on tries. We want those more workhorse types like Brian Toto, Jacob Kiraz that do also have the upside potential. Mitchell Moses at number six. I guess a lot of people brought him in thinking he'd be available through the Origin period, but now has been selected for New South Wales. So yeah, I think that's a fair trade. Um, I think if you could hold him, it would be useful for him to play around 17, particularly if you've got him stacked with, like, say, Nico Hines. Uh, but if yeah, the fact he only plays one in the next four, assuming he plays game three as well for New South Wales, means that he is a sell. Jared Croker, so another one who's done his job. Was made to look a bit silly at times last week, so whether he's even in the team going forward is a bit questionable. Um, but he's played his 300 now, so the Raiders can do what they want, I guess. And as super coaches, we can too. Eli Katoa, so unfortunately isn't playing this week with that eye injury. So yeah, if you're looking for a number, it is an easy way to sideways him to someone. Like say Bryce Cartwright would be around that price point. Yeah, and that could do you just as good over the coming weeks. Jerry Marshall King, so obviously on the bye this week, but also has the dodgy shoulder, so I think it is a good time to get off Marshall King. Um, a lot of people probably making that trade to Simpkin. Get the money and the points that way. You could go Reed Marnie's another nice option, I think, at a profit. playing this week. Um, if you're trading to Cook or Grant, it's a bit silly. You might as well just hold Marshall King, save the trade because we don't know what's going to happen through the Origin this week. Um, so yeah, if you can bring him in for a playing number this week, great. If not, maybe you can wait and see how the shoulder comes next week. And Greg Marzu, so missing the game for disciplinary reasons. Easy for you to say. So I guess yeah, it's a lot of money sitting on your bench this week, and I guess one of the main reasons you brought him in the side was for coverage of this week. So I can understand those people getting off him. But in terms of the captaincy options, we'll just look at the top 10% as well, so it's not as skewed by, I guess, players not playing. And so most popular owns as well. So, pretty much everyone in the top 10%'s got Hines, Garrick, Schuster, Buller. Quite a lot got Billy Smith. I obviously got off him a few weeks ago. Got off Hopgood a while ago. But other than that, I've got a pretty stock standard team by the look of it. Just looking at all the colours here. No prizes for guessing the most popular captain though. Nico Hines in the last game against the Bulldogs, point to prove. The Sharks were disappointing last week. It all sort of brews into this perfect storm that he could go absolutely mental. That break even of 126, I don't think is even safe. Ruben Garrick, I guess after last week, a lot of people would see him as a pod option against a somewhat rudderless Parramatta team with Moses missing. He's obviously the key element there. A few people still got Mitchell Moses as captain from last week, clearly. Haven't done their trades yet. And then we're starting to get into real pod territory there. In terms of vice captain, so Buller, popular again. I cannot blame anyone for that. Joey Manu playing fullback was 16 or 17% vice captain rate. Very interesting. Kalen Ponga at 16%. I guess the sort of opposite of Manu in that game. Ruben Garrick, second most popular captain, so it makes sense that he's in the vice captain conversation as well. And Gutho against Manly. So I guess, the fullback's getting a lot of love in the vice captaincy argument. Nick Meaney at 6, proving my point even further. A couple of people vice captaining Nico Hines, I'm not quite sure what that's about. Jermaine Osaka's on the buy, so I think we'll disregard a lot of those. Scotty Drinkwater at super pod levels. I guess as well, if you look at the ownerships, so the likes of Drinkwater at 3.9%, so a fair pod option. Edwards at 7.4. After that, it's all pretty popular picks players, so nothing too crazy there, I suppose. So in terms of how that puts or affects my team, you can see I've already done the trades there, so it's exactly the same as what I had done in the round preview video. So looking at Reid Marnie in for Reece Robson, obviously Robson playing Origin, Fainu in for Ford, and just sort of allowing me to rebalance my forward pack a bit. And Matt Burton in for Nathan Cleary. So I do have him in at halfback. Excuse me again. So obviously this is the way we line up this week. We didn't get Blake Wilson, which is a bit flat, but there's no real cheapy options I wanted to trade in. So we've still got 14 players, so including the two halves there on the bench. So, we're well set for this week. Obviously, keeping an eye out for next week, we do have a few. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 players unavailable because of the bye. But we do have a plan for that. It will take a couple of trades. So Peachy probably won't get a game next week, you'd imagine, with the Origin guys back. But he's probably going to be the sacrificial lamb to bring in Sean Johnson through Schuster and Burton sliding around. So that will give us a playing halfback for next week. It'll probably also be time to cash in on Paul Alamotti, and yeah, whoever we can go to there. But other than that, and if we can find someone for Blake Wilson, like we've got a heap of money, so it might be the last trade boost gets used up. But yeah, just to make sure we do have a 17 for next week. It's going to probably be these guys that get traded out for players that are playing. So yeah, so that's the team and how it's going to stack up. Again, the vice captain, I've gone with Ponga, just riding that form wave. The Roosters haven't been that impressive. They're playing at home, which is always a bonus for the Knights. So is that an ambulance or police? Don't know. But yeah, it might be a bit easy to hear now. Yeah, just and I guess playing the afternoon game as well. So the daytime game usually is more conducive to attacking football. So that's the way I was leaning there. But I mean, can't blame people going the likes of Buller, admittedly against the Storm, but the Storm haven't been the hottest team in the competition this year. Um, yeah, I think that they're the main sort of options in my team. Maybe Garrick against Parramatta. You never know what Parramatta's going to bring to the table. Joey Manu, I mean, yeah, if you think the Roosters are going to go good, that's fair enough. But yeah, I think Pong is my guy. Um, and yeah, but I think Nico Hines is the obvious choice this week, just for all the reasons we've previously outlined. Yeah, so that's the round 16 preview. A little bit of round 17 chat there too. But as always, if you've got any thoughts, feel free to comment. If you enjoy the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Soon I've picked up a few more subscribers this week, so welcome to you guys, and also everyone else that's already a subscriber. Appreciate the support. And other than that, thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.